as Wilco makes a run ahead of him. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. We are a very tanned group of individuals and Danny. My name is Kris, I am your host, and this is the start of the summer podcast. You know, that time where we sit about and talk about transfer rumours and all that crap. I mean, I'm really selling it here, aren't I, guys? But let's be honest. I'm being truthful. That is what we do in the summer. So, yeah, we are going to be doing a few of these, obviously, to keep you guys entertained, keep your earballs nice and sharp for the summer months. Some of it will be transfer tittle-tattle. We'll have some guests here and there. We'll do a couple of specials. And, of course, we'll do the breaking news when we sign 15 players in 3 hours. So look out for those. I think we're calling them emergency podcasts. But tonight, it's just a standard 4 blokes have a natter. So I need 3 blokes to join me to do that. So first up, it is the big man himself. Karl, how are you doing, sir?
I am really, really good. I have finally, after 5 weeks, finished jury service. People, I'm just going to give you a bit of advice. Ignore your jury service letters because they may catch you on a case that they say is 2 weeks, last 5 weeks. You lose the will to live. You want to hang yourself and fucking annoying. There's a reason why the justice system in this country is a fucking mess, and it's because of people doing jury service. You have to sit with 11 strangers who think they're the judge and think they know the law, and they don't know the law, and you have to educate them. And as you can tell, I am very happy to be free of those 11 other people. So yes, I'm happy.
Good, but
it's like interacting with your followers, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
The most important question, though, at the end of the trial, how many of the 115 charges are Manchester City being charged with?
Well, I'm not saying that I didn't find them guilty, but tomorrow my private jet is taking me to Dubai. It's not linked in any way whatsoever, but it just coincides with the end of the trial and the private jet picking me up and taking me to Dubai. Just putting it out there.
Just Excellent. Another quick question. Karl, are you allowed to leave the country with that hanging case over your head from the fashion police about wanting to wear white Crocs?
See, the thing is, Josh, what you have to understand is that I'm a fashion icon. Now, if I wear white Crocs, you're now going to see everyone wearing white Crocs. So I can't help it if I'm a style icon, guru, whatever word you want to use, that is what I am.
All right, we'll see you in court.
I mean, Josh, follow that because I don't have words. Style icon, Karl. I mean, I don't have any other words. I can't follow up on that.
Yeah, Kris, to be fair with you, it's don't throw stones in glass houses kind of thing with style.
I haven't been style since 1994. And I'm very happy to be so because current fashion sucks balls. Let's be honest. It's not good, is it?
True. It's not great. But yeah, I'm doing all right. Enjoying a couple of days on Twitter or not. I think people can decide whether or not I'm having fun. But I've certainly done some more tweets.
You've been on a fishing expedition, haven't you?
Oh, and it's great. I'm enjoying it. All the big bass are out now that it's the transfer window, and who knows what's going to happen with whether or not we're paying all in or slightly out of in or add-ons or add-offs. Who knows what's going to happen? And at some point, I'd like the chat box to really find me a Twitter appropriate still. I need a new profile picture on Twitter because sadly, Paul went out. He's gone. He's one of them. Scumbag, dead to me. Although, yeah, he is dead to me. Sorry.
My vote would be a Brighton player from the 80s in old kit. I feel like that's the vibe you need. Oh my god, no, not that. Not If you're listening in audio format, just thank the lucky stars. See the first picture that just came up on the screen.
I think we just saw Danny's Bobby Zamora when he put that first one up.
I need to know from Karl, did you use the world standard guide to court, as in this, or did you try and reverse the trend?
Well, sadly, there was no people of that colour in my chart. And I just want to say, if I end up in a barrel in Russia, or somehow I'm poisoned, in my own house, please, people, I have no suicidal thoughts at all, and it was not me that did it.
Unless you've been eating salad round Josh's.
Yes, apparently salad is not the way to go.
I really don't know what's happened. I don't know where this podcast has suddenly gone. It's like we are quite famous for going off on a waffle, but we've gone full. I don't know where tonight.
Honestly, if I ever sneeze, it's too heavy. That's it. We're not making 500.
No, that's facts. That's facts. Danny is also here, so hello to Danny.
Hello, everyone.
We don't want to know about your bowel movements for the last week, as the WhatsApp group has been flooded with this afternoon. So thanks for that. Always a pleasure.
Don't use the word flood.
And if you're going to decide to stop taking sugar 100, I don't have much, but 100%. Just Google Yahoo and Ask Jeeves sugar withdrawal symptoms, because it's not nice. Makes you quite angry. And I went to bed at 11 p.m. That's how sick I felt and angry.
Good God, the world stopped turning on its axis.
Danny? Is that what it is?
Well, could be something like that. But yeah, so I feel perfectly fine today, and all I've had to eat is 1 tin of tuna.
Well, living the dream, some would say. A little wave to the chat there. We've got a couple of familiar names there. BX Gunner, Mr. Waffles, Jimmy, Loki, Phil Mackistan, the Man, Rudy, Tony Mills, Englishman in Canada, loads of people. Hello to you all. Hello, how are you all doing? Right, so how are we going to break this podcast into two then? So we're going to talk a bit of Arsenal first of all, because that's kind of what we do. And then after that, we're just going to have a little bit of general football chit-chat. So those people who come just for the Arsenal news, you'll have a 10-minute podcast. Enjoy that. And then the other hour and 25 minutes will be talking waffle. But let's talk Arsenal first of all. Karl, let me start with you. Which name should we go for first? We'll go for Declan Rice, as the Americans call him. Big Decky. It would appear that it's kind of one of those, isn't it? It's like we all pretty much know it's going to happen. Then there was this. Everyone
apparently.
Well, yeah, everyone shat themselves earlier on because Fraudstein tweeted that Man City were interested, and we all know he's washed, so don't bother with his tweets. But yeah, there was some suggestion that Man City were taking a look. I mean, if Calvin Fatty Phillips can't get a game, I don't really see Man City being interested at all. I think that's a load of waffle. Bayern Munich have pretty much said that he's already told them he wants to stay in the UK. Man United are Finnish clubs. They're irrelevant. It feels like this will get done, but we went in with an 80 million offer, and the reports tonight at 8:30 at night on the 15th of June is that Edu has opened the barbecue and has raised it to 100 mil. In the current market, are you happy with that? Do you feel like it's a good signing? Because it sort of feels like this has been happening for a few months, doesn't it? Like it feels like Jesus last summer. We all know it's going to happen. It's just when, and now we've all gone a bit like, yeah, you know.
In the words of John, and not my balls. What is this rush on my balls? In the words of John, it's not my money, and I don't care. Listen, if it was my money, would I want to pay 100 mil for Declan Rice? Sadly, that's the market, because no matter what Declan Rice is worth, you got to add on the English premium, and that's the crux of it, sadly. And that's, if you realise, no English player is worth that value. I mean, they're talking about 100 mil for Harry Kane, and as much good as he is, and I hate to admit it, he is a goal scorer. He's going to get you goals. The numbers that Tottenham are spouting about, he's not worth that. He's 30 years old. But anyway, I think Declan Rice will happen. I can't see Man City going for him just because they don't need him. You know, Man City, there's a in one of the football groups that I'm in, someone put up a picture of Man City's depth, and it's absolutely scary, the depth that Man City have. And I know we'll talk about that in the general part of the podcast, but they don't need him. And if, like you said, Calvin Phillips, they've got him as their quote-unquote DM. Then they've got the best DM in the world in Rodri. So, you know, Declan Rice is not a box-to-box. We know what Declan Rice is coming in to do. We know what his game is. So why would Man City want him? I just think that it was probably put out by West Ham to try and stoke up the price for Arsenal and get people talking as well. That's what people do. I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to do well for us. I see him coming in, and I see him playing well. I think what we'll talk about in a minute is who's going to be his midfield partner. I think that's going to be a discussion to have. But Declan Rice is a good midfielder. He's, you know, what he does for West Ham, he could do for Arsenal and more. And because we've got better players, so you may want a little bit more from him. He gets around the pitch. He protects that back four. He's very good at doing that. He's mobile. He gets up and down the pitch. He seems like a good person as well. You don't really hear nothing about. I know it's like back in the day, but you don't really hear nothing. No scandals about him. Not, you know, drinking excessively, being out on a lash, especially being in London as well. You know, a young guy, lots of money, but he seems settled down now, and I think that's something that Arteta looks for. You know, there's lots of rumors that I can't ever, no matter how good someone like Jack Grealish is, I could never see Arteta signing him just because of his lifestyle. And maybe you shouldn't look at that. He's a young boy, but I think Arteta doesn't want any scandals with his players, and I think you're not going to get that with Declan Rice. Wherever he comes for, whether it be 100 mil plus add-ons, 120 plus add-ons, whatever it is, he doesn't dictate his price tag. So if he comes in and he has a stinker 1 game or 2 games, let's not say, 120 mil, can't believe we paid this for him. That's not his fault. Bit like Pepe, when Pepe come in, you know, Pepe didn't ask for the price tag to be what it was. He's just come in and he's got that price tag over his head, unfortunately. So it's going to be a good signing, I think. I personally think it's a case of when and not if. But unlike these ITKs on Twitter, I have no idea when he's coming in. And half of 3/4 of the people on Twitter have no idea either. Everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to have that exclusive. I was the one that tweeted it first, like that Arsenal got a bid accepted or whatever it is. People are just doing guesswork. And I didn't realize how rough this transfer window is going to be. We've had some bad ones on Twitter, like in the social media age, but this one's going to be something different.
Remember the Arsenal horse? Yeah, it does feel like it's going to be a long summer. It's only the 15th of June and we're already getting waffle all the way through. Just before I come to Josh, 2 things on that. I think, like Melvin was saying there, the only reason Man City could potentially be interested is to stop clubs buying players that they're, you know, just purely to stop them from strengthening their own squads. But I don't even think the bold fraud is that what's the word, maniacal. As for our good friend Harry up the road, recording our French pod with Jeremy last night, and he did make me chuckle, and I have to quote it. We were talking about Harry Kane potentially going to Real Madrid and the whole Mbappe thing. And Jez said, I feel like Mbappe would actually be quite well, would fit quite quickly with Real Madrid because he's already learning to speak Spanish, whereas Harry Kane still hasn't mastered English, which I found very amusing. So shout out to Jez for that. Josh, tell me why, and I'm genuinely not trolling here, tell me why you say I'm judging. I'm going off the bat and saying you would, but tell me why you would be more inclined to push a Caicedo deal first, because I do see what other people see. You've obviously seen him a lot more than I have. I'm not sure I see. I don't know. Like, is he just the popular one because he sort of has that Kante element about him? I know he's very good, but the sort of money that's being talked about, and there's something about his character I'm not sure about. He tried to force the move in January. Then he was talking about Real Madrid. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. What's your views? Why would you go with him over Rice?
Well, I probably wouldn't. I'd go with both. And if I had to
You're just
pick
being
one,
greedy.
I'd pick Rice. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. The main one is stature in the midfield. We are a diminutive side. What do we need is another, and he's 5 foot. I think he's about 5'8", to be honest. I think I mentioned it before. I've met him a couple of times, so I roughly work out how tall he is. He's a slight guy. He's 19 as well. That probably doesn't help. But I think the moment what you're seeing is a guy that, and we've seen it at Arsenal, and I've mentioned it about a lot of the Arsenal players. He's got an agent who now suddenly, because his original agent who dealt with Arsenal dealt with Brighton was his parents. It was his parents and the club he was at the time just helped facilitate the whole thing, and it was the right move for his career. Now he's with a big agency, and I think he's the biggest asset basically on their portfolio, and that's what pushed the move in January was, hey, we've got this brand new asset and he's at a selling club. There's no bones about it. We all know Brighton are there to churn players. It's part of the model. And obviously they didn't get exactly what they wanted. They got probably a bit of an agent's fee when he signed that new contract. But there's one thing about Caicedo's game that I think will come, not unraveling, but when he gets to that big six side, and that is the way he goes into tackles. It's one of those that you can kind of get away with it in certain respects. Depends on which club badge I think you're wearing at the time, probably comes into it. But in the general sense, if you've got more eyes on you, more people are going to take notice about the way you go into tackles. And there's somewhere I go in and I think he's going to break the player's leg and he comes out with it at the ball. But at some point, one referee is going to say, hang on, less of that, and completely kill his game at some point. And I do see there is, again, I think he is worth the money that Tony Bloom is asking for. He's asking for more than Declan Rice money from West Ham. He's asking 120 million. And I think for a player as important as he is to Brighton, that's it. It's worth it. They don't need to sell. So yeah, I can see definitely the rumours of Chelsea being interested. I mean, Chelsea aren't doing anything for a while. The reason why Chelsea are so interested is because there's actually a club who wants to buy one of their players, maybe two of their sellable assets. Yeah, maybe even three out there.
And a
in terms of, well, I meant about just Brighton themselves. They want Levi Colwill back. And I would sell Caicedo to Chelsea from a Brighton perspective to get Colwill back at the club. Because I think I said to Karl in the group earlier in the week, Levi Colwill is the English left-footed Saliba. It's a couple of years younger, but he has got that quality in him. And he will go for mega money in 2 or 3 seasons. If he stays fit, continues at the level of form that he's got, he will be a different level of player. So I do think that I saw that why Rice and Caicedo, why we'd go after them. And it all comes down to me about that question of, is there that market that we're hearing for Thomas Partey?
He said I think he's come out and said his agent or something, he said he's got no intention of going anywhere, which of course they would say, but the suggestion is he isn't going anywhere. 5'10", by the way, Caicedo.
He's not 5'10". I'm 5'10" and he's shorter than me.
Okay, there you go.
I can tell you that for free.
The internet does lie. It has been known on occasion.
Do you think, sorry, just a quick question. Do you think I personally don't think we get both of them. I just don't see it. That's just my personal opinion. I can't see us getting Rice and Caicedo. But let's just say, devil's advocate, we do actually get both of them. Josh, do you think there's a way that those two can play together? I mean, do you lose something in midfield if you play a Declan Rice and a Caicedo in your sort of heart of your centre midfield?
I think it changes some of the shape that we go with and probably reduces our reliance actually on Ben White in the positions he takes up. I am by saying by no stretch of the imagination, based on what people have watched on the internet, is Caicedo a right back or can play right back. He has filled in there 3 times, and the player that was filling in there before was one of the most creative playmakers in the Premier League at that right back position in terms of Pascal Gross. It's, I think, as Nick B's just saying in the chat, Caicedo is perfect for that Stones role. He fits that kind of bill, except for the build. But he's not got that aerial presence. But if you were sitting next to someone like Rodri, it doesn't really matter. But that's where I'd see him being an option for Arsenal. It gives Rice that ability to shuffle out left, and then you've got Caicedo shuffling out right as well, whilst you allow Zinchenko to push on. Because that's another question of what we're going to do with that left midfield. Left back position. And the other question about this mystery number 8 position, left 8 that everyone's calling about. If we're bringing in a player that is less defensively, defensively good as Granit Xhaka, and we're looking at bringing in someone who's basically been playing for the last 3 years as a striker and putting them back into midfield, you'd probably want a bit more security in there, and having the legs of Caicedo, Rice, and then the back 3 that we know of already in kind of Gabriel, Saliba, White. You've got enough bodies there to rest at least one of them at one point to maintain having that attacking group, because I think there'll be a lot of work and energy we'll need putting into this midfield, which is then draws the questions again to Thomas Partey, who appears to be fantastic for 2/3 of the season. And yes, we didn't have requisite cover at the time, but it appears like at some moment, for no external or internal reason, he will drop a 2 out of 10. And I think for where you need literal perfection to win the league, you can't have somebody just dropping a 2 out of 10 out of nowhere with no real rhyme or reason for why their form just isn't there.
Yeah. I'm very torn on sort of how many need to come in, because I think it does really depend on how many go out. What's your, Danny? You're a bit like me, a bit old school in terms of like you remember the days when Arsenal was all English. Being xenophobic here, but we was all English local lads, and we had the likes of Kevin Campbell and Alan Smith and Rocky and all of the old crew. That sort of Declan Rice ticks that box, doesn't he? Like the idea of having another English London-based footballer. He's got that sort of Arsenal about him, dare I say it. It's sort of feels like his character fits. And do you think that this sort of talk of Caicedo and that, are we kind of forgetting the fact that we have apparently come out and said that Emile Smith-Rowe is staying now? Not again, the club's going to say that. I still feel like we'd be tempted if an offer came in. But assuming he stays, surely that's got to be the role that they start to breed him into, isn't it? In that left 8 or that centre midfield, because he hasn't really got a place at the moment. And if Granit Xhaka leaves, then yeah, Rice fills that spot, but you're going to need another one in there, aren't you?
No, I don't see him playing that left 8. I see him as being the modern day Perry Groves, playing anywhere of the front 4 or 5 positions, and he can do all of them. And that's why he made his name coming on as a substitute last season and scoring goals and looking wonderful. And that's what he does. And if he wants to do it, every team needs a Remy Gard, a Jules Grimandi, Matteo Flamini, a Perry Groves. Every team needs one of them. And if you're willing to not have the same position every single game, like you're not going to get Saka having to swap wings or play as a 9 or a 10. His position is cemented on that right wing. And last season we had 8 players play 40 or more games, and Saliba would have made that 40 if he wouldn't have got the injury. So if you may include Saliba in that, that's 9 players. That leaves very little room for anybody else to come in and to claim one of those positions, because those starting player and positions of 9 positions, they're done. We're not going to get new players for any of those positions unless somebody leaves. Now the ones that are going to leave is Xhaka, he's going to go. And then, so that's going to be the left 8 that you're talking about. And I think that the person they want for that is going to be Rice, possibly, who's going to be able to drop deep and do some magic. If Partey goes, then it's going to be Caicedo, looking at the positions that he's played. Like Josh said earlier, last season, he played 20 games as DM, 11 games as central midfield, and 3 games as DM, right back. And so that is almost what Partey was doing for most of the season. So I think they're the 2 players that we're going to go for to fill those 2 slots. Outside of that, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to come in and take the position of anyone else, because after such a magnificent season last season, we don't need anyone else unless someone's leaving. And none of those players are leaving. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Partey doesn't go. But
Jorginho as well.
Yeah, and Jorginho is a really good player. But someone's just tweeted this about 20 minutes ago. Florian Plettenberg says Caicedo's decided to join Chelsea, and he's got 181,000 followers, and he bought the tick. So
can you go back to if Danny? You can just scroll back to his tweet that he just did 5 minutes before then, where he's That's what made it. Sorry, I'm just going to say that if someone goes from what they say 5 minutes beforehand to that tweet. They're the German Fabrizio.
To quote Conor McGregor, who the fuck is that guy?
The only thing I looked at is the fact he's got 181,000 followers.
But you can buy them.
If only, but they will leave you, don't you? As I found out, they're not interested. The tweet he did before that was, Bayern has informed about him, Caicedo. They're in talks and his management, and he was on their list. As reported, after developments of today, it's clear Bayern had no chance. Caicedo to stay in the Premier League.
And then he says something in Showmore or something like Chelsea are interested. And then suddenly Chelsea went from being interested to, oh my God, he's going there straight away. 5 minutes.
Yeah, incredible. Do you think
he's going to go to Chelsea?
I mean, you could certainly see it happening.
Yeah.
The thing is something, obviously, I don't know if we'll move to talk about it. And that Josh is probably been the one that's more vocal on this. Chelsea have to sell. Yeah. They have to sell before, I think, was it the 31st? Is it June 31st? They have to sell?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
So the problem is and this is why the likes of Manchester United and Arsenal are going to be should be very, very smart. So, Man United put in their bid for Mason Mount, got rejected straight away. Okay, cool. And I think we maybe asked for maybe something like 45, 50 million for Havertz, and I think they said no straight away. All right, cool. Go away. And then by the 20th, 21st of June, so just about a week, go back with your offers, because Chelsea then will start panicking and start thinking, shit, we need to start selling players. Or even, if you really want to push the button out, someone bid for Caicedo and put it out there. Yes, Brighton may reject it, but the fact that they know that someone else is going to go for the player that they want, Chelsea would then start saying, okay, do you know what, Man United, we will take maybe 45 with add-ons or maybe 50 with add-ons and go to Arsenal if Arsenal really want Havertz, which we'll talk about in a second. Like, okay, Arsenal, we will take 50 plus add-ons because they need to sell. And regardless of them getting people like Kante off their books, he's going to Saudi Arabia, I believe. I don't know if it's for any money. I think it's almost for free, isn't it? They're going to cancel his contract. So Chelsea not going to get any money for him. Aubameyang, the same thing. They're going to cancel his contract. So
and they're shopping around for a new goalkeeper, even though they've got the French bloke and the Spanish bloke.
Well, Mendy's going back to France in the summer, so he'll be gone.
And they want Rob Sanchez from Brighton. That's who they want to replace.
So this is weird. So this is what I'm saying, that clubs are just going to be very smart and just wait a week and then really test Chelsea's patience and be like, how much money do you really want? How badly do you want to sell? Because if you're smart, that's what you'll do. So Manchester United will get Mason Mount for, I think, maximum 50 million because they're not going to pay.
40. Yeah.
And Arsenal, if they do want Kai Havertz, like they will get him for no more than 50. because Chelsea are desperate and they need to sell, and that's the reason why they haven't put in a bid for Kai Havertz. And I can't remember the striker they're going for. I can't.
Sanchez. Jackson at Villarreal is the talk, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and the thing is, have you noticed that even in the press, I know it's Twitter and also I don't follow many Chelsea fans, but there's no talk apart from Caicedo. There's no talk of Chelsea going for any other player because they can't because of the fact that they need to sell. So I think maybe next week, I think that's when the chips will start falling because of Chelsea's need to sell players.
Yeah. And so the only player that's going to Chelsea at the moment is a badly advised player, which is where I fall back to Caicedo's agency thing. Well, it's that who doesn't necessarily want to play. No player wants to do that.
But also the changing room or something. Or have people standing outside.
But also this argument that because I've seen some Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, you know, we'll touch on Havertz in a second because I've got a few things to say on that." But sort of saying, "Oh, don't buy Havertz because then you're just funding the purchase of Caicedo." That's absolute horseshit. Chelsea could buy 7 Caicedos. The issue is not how much money they've got; it's that they have to meet FFP by shifting the people that are already on their books. It's not a question of if they shift those players out, they can go and buy Mbappe if they want to. They've got the money, but they have to meet the FFP criteria. So they have to get these big earners off the pile. That's the issue that they've got. And like Karl said, time is ticking. And they will be shipping people out. I think they've saved some money. João Felix is going back, isn't he? So that's one off the books.
Nobody wants him either.
There's quite a few there that are on big money. I mean, even Kepa's on decent money.
Can we all just sit back and just laugh at the Koulibaly contract again, please? Please, can we just mention that again?
And Inter want him on a free, don't they? Now they're talking about getting him and Lukaku on frees. Yeah, I mean, it's
year deal. And Chelsea hilarious. Just want cash. They just need a transfer fee. Loftus-Cheek is another one. Conor Gallagher.
All these players are going to go full Winston Bogard, aren't they? Oh, they're going to get the comfy chair and they're going to sit back and
sit and watch it.
Yeah.
And they've got people like Brojo, people have forgotten about as well. Maybe they could open a car park behind one of the goals and charge for cars to be parked behind there. That would be. Oh no, they've already done that, haven't they?
And the thing is, whenever Chelsea sell their players, they're not going to want a staggered.
No, they're going to want it now.
They're going to want money up front. So this is why you can even go with less and say, okay, no worries. I'll tell you what, you really want the money?
We'll do
can give we can give you 40 million now. So that's why I think whenever you want to touch on Havertz, Kris, if we actually went there with 40 million cash, because I know they were trying to, obviously no deal, very rare do you get paid all the money up front. But if they were desperate for him and say, okay, we'll give you this cash, no add-ons, that's it. That's the money you want. Depending how desperate Chelsea are, they will accept. I mean, that's business, isn't it? It's just playing poker. It's about, who's got the better bluff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it now, and I'll start with you on this one then, Karl, because the rumours of Havertz, it sort of came out of left field because there was talk that Real Madrid were keen at the start of the summer, and then all of that went quiet, and then all of a sudden, just sort of out of the blue, it was that we were looking at him went to agreed personal terms, which went to bids gone in, which went to teams or clubs are talking. This is one of those transfers, or one of those rumours of transfers that's really divided the Arsenal fan groups. Friend of the pod, Drew, I was chatting to him late last night about this, and we were both saying people have got very short memories. This is a guy who is incredibly talented. He's been one of Germany's best players for a number of years. He was absolutely brilliant at Leverkusen. And the only thing that has gone wrong is that he signed for a tin pot club and has been badly managed and been badly played out of position and just underutilized. And the biggest thing that I think he suffered from last season was a distinct lack of confidence. Like, look at that game against Man United where he missed an absolute sitter. He's a really talented player and he gives us something we don't have. That height. I think it was Gunnerblog was saying on his post today, he reminds him of Van Persie in terms of his stature, that kind of tall, wiry figure. But he's technically brilliant. His off-the-ball movement is fantastic. He does give you a threat sort of from a headed perspective. He scored a lot of goals with his head. And he strikes me as the sort of player that what I would call a Goldilocks player. When things are just right, you'll get the best out of him. And for me, the Chelsea move was just never a good fit. Whereas I think an Arsenal move and a coach like Arteta who will let him thrive and arguably he can play 3 or 4 different positions that we would need him to play as a cam, as a deep 8, as a 10, and he can comfortably play wide or off another striker. For me, as I've put in my bio here, bring me the German, because I just think that's a deal that is it really excites me genuinely. And like you, I feel I would pay up to 55. I wouldn't go to sort of 60, 70. I think that's silly. They bought him for 75. That, you know, his value has declined since he's been there. He's 24. Which camp do you sit in? Do you sit in the camp that says, yeah, actually this one's a pretty good move and it's quite exciting, or have you got reservations? Because I mean, Chelsea, we have been burned in the past.
So I have reservations, and the reservations I have is only because of Chelsea. When he was at Leverkusen, he was tearing it up. He was absolutely brilliant. He was, and I know what you're saying, Kris. The fact that, you know, Chelsea played him wrong. He's not a striker. I don't know why Chelsea played him as a striker. There's nothing that says striker about him. He, you know, he's not a striker at all. He's a midfielder. That's the situation. That's what Chelsea bought him as, and for some unknown reason converted him as a striker. I put in a group yesterday about his numbers that he's done in the Premier League, and I think in 3 seasons he's not scored 30 goals. Now, does that give you the form of, like, you can tell that he's not a striker? Should he be playing in his right position, which is a midfielder? Because when he comes to Arsenal, I think he will probably take that left 8 attacking role, and I think that's what he's going to do. And I think what you was talking about, he's pre-leading to that he's not very defensive, so he's going to need someone defensive to play alongside him to sweep up the errors, or the fact that he's going to play further forward. You know, Arteta will probably change his game, and he probably will get him to start running back. I just don't.
We just had a season, Karl, where we broke our Premier League goal scoring record. I don't think Arteta needs to swap a player like the left 8 Xhaka, who does the defending, for an attacking player. I don't see why Arteta would change the system.
I would.
We scored loads.
I think Xhaka, if you had a different player in that position, someone who could finish, would have scored 15, 20 goals. If you had an Aaron Ramsey or someone who could get on the end of a cross, which Havertz has shown at least he can win a header. I think that's one of the key things, that if Xhaka was able to clinically head the ball, because that's what we saw when everybody departs the box of all our diminutive forwards, the player running in and offering that physical presence was Granit Xhaka. So that's where I see that we need to replace somebody with someone with some stature.
I didn't realise he's 6'4".
I was going to say he's a big lad. He's a bit Pires, isn't he? In his sort of play style, in the way he moves. It's very. There's a few people have gone down the Özil route, haven't they, and said, "Oh, you know," but I don't.
German.
And he's got that style, hasn't he? He's got that almost languid, like, "Am I really trying?" style. But I think, like Danny said, I think under Arteta, I don't really feel like we.
It's a gamble.
I don't really feel like we need to add the goals. What I feel we need to add, though, is the quality and depth. Because like we've all been said about Champions League and that, if you can say you play in Champions League on, you know, Wednesday, and you basically saying you've got Odegaard fighting Havertz for a place, fighting Trossard for a place, you know, or okay, Martinelli's had a knock at the weekend against Forest, so we'll bring in Havertz to play left midfield and we'll keep Odegaard in the 10 or switch them over or whatever. It gives you options, doesn't it? And like, again, this is a German international, 24 years of age, Premier League ready, and has just gone rusty. Like I just can't really see the downsides. And Arteta's not going to be. I mean, we all know what he's like, old Spanish Bobby. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. He will have been over this guy's character with a fine tooth comb, while I do Stokes the barbecue. I mean, there's no way they wouldn't have done their due diligence on his, you know, his stats and his, you know, ground cover, that sort of thing, his work rate. He's not going to come in and be a lazy player at Arsenal, is he?
You know, that's where I feel like it also seems like an opportunistic signing. That's where another Ozil parallel comes. It's opportunistic. It's not. I don't think we went into this transfer window going, or last summer going, we're going to go and get Havertz, and he's going to be the long-term successor to Granit Xhaka. But I don't think we can reiterate enough how fucked Chelsea are in terms of undervaluing their players.
I think
yeah.
I look at so I've literally just got his stats up now. So when he first came to Chelsea, he played 27 games, scored 4 goals, 3 assists. Second season, obviously that was the COVID season, but second season, 29 games, 8 goals, 3 assists. Third season, so last season, played 35 games, 7 goals, 1 assist. And I think, so the reason why I'm not going to put the assist in that rating, because Chelsea were an absolute shambles. Like, they had Aubameyang up front who couldn't finish his dinner. Like, so, you know, you have to flip and look at that and think, okay, look at the people he had around him. You know, no one could finish. Yeah, and Frank Lampard was his manager as well. So, you know, you have to. Graham Potter wasn't. Well,
he creates XG, but the strikers don't score. We'll put it that
The
way.
whole thing was a shit show. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I just think to myself, Danny, why have you got that picture up?
Because he's in the chat. There he is.
Yeah, he is. He's probably just he's probably just taken 5 minutes off from making another million.
From
or
playing
buying another 6
Monopoly
houses.
with real houses.
No, because to walk from the west wing to the east wing is quite far for Femi. So
yeah, true.
He's gonna get one of them ride along scooters.
Segue.
I heard he's hiring Karl and hiding Josh just to drag him along on his back.
Fun fact: John Welsh is his butler. It's true. Yeah.
On the west wing, I'm the east wing. We cover 2 different floors as well.
Obviously, yes. So yeah, I think. So just because I can't really take him last year, because obviously Chelsea were an absolute shit show, and if we can get the Bayern Leverkusen habits, then yeah, I would. But it just doesn't excite me. Yes, he's got Premier League experience, and I totally understand that. And if, like you said, and I think he hit the nail on the head, it is an absolute opportunistic buy. I think anyone in world football could probably look at that Chelsea team and think, who is it that we could pick? Obviously, not the players that are probably just come in, but
yeah.
If you looked at that Chelsea squad and say, "Oh, I could take him. Oh, I could take that person. Oh, I could take that person," they would have to sell, because, like we were saying, they had to sell. I mean, I can imagine like someone like Cucurella, who got bought for 60 mil. I want to say he's probably not on. He's probably on like massive wages. The same as Ben Chilwell. So they've got 2 left backs. They've got a right back in Reece James, who
3
cannot stay.
They bought another one, didn't they?
Well, don't forget they got Malo Gusto coming in from Leon as well.
Yeah,
who hasn't even played for them yet. So they're
They've
talking about
screwed
loaning
themselves.
him before he even comes in the door, which is hilarious.
Jesus, they got a right back that they cannot keep fit for love nor money.
And Raheem Sterling. Remember
They got
him?
Raheem Sterling, who's on some
5-year deal.
Like, yeah, something stupid like 300 grand.
Couldn't make this shit up, could you?
They've got no striker. Well, apart from Aubameyang.
They've got a fraud as a new manager.
No, they got
He's
Fofana.
allergic to winning. Thing.
Fofana, that's what I was thinking about.
Fofana, oh yeah, the Danish lad. Yeah,
Danish, but he's 19. You're not starting him in the Premier League every week.
Yeah,
No.
so Chelsea are a mess at the moment. So if you're an like you said, and I think that was a really good point. If you're a club and think, who can I pick from Chelsea? I think within the last week of June, you are going to see a lot of people just, how much for this person? How much for that person? And if they're up to it, they're going to have to sell. Otherwise, Chelsea are in a deep doo-doo. But going back to Havertz, I mean, if we sign him, I'll be very happy. Like I genuinely would be. Sorry, if we sign him, I'm not going to be like, oh my god, this is a shit signing. But
you'll give him a chance.
It just doesn't fill me with excitement, and he could come in and tear it up, and I hope he does. I hope he does prove everyone wrong. Like Jorginho, you know, when we signed Jorginho, everyone was like, "Why are we signing this player for? We don't need him." Blah blah blah. It turns out that we did need him badly when Thomas Partey fell off a cliff. And talking of him, he's on the TV now. So I'm watching.
He scored earlier, didn't he?
Femi's just made a really good point as well about Chelsea. Christopher Nkunku's coming in. And by the way, he is very, very good. He will play the Havertz role because he's a centre forward. He's not a striker. And there is a big difference between the two. He will play that Havertz false 9 role if they play him as Leipzig did anyway. in that kind of free floating behind, or either floating behind a non-striker or floating behind a target man. So really, I think it's one of Havertz or Nkunku. So that would make logical sense if they were to do that. But
and I mean, if you're going to bring in an Argentinian fraud as well as your new manager, you know nothing. You're not going to win any trophies. What's the point staying?
I want him to fail so badly. I want him to fail. I want him to be worse than Frank Lampard. I just want that to go.
That's not physically possible.
Well, no,
please don't, because it will give some credence to Frank Lampard.
Yeah, true.
I can't have that.
It just makes you think that there's so many reasons to hate Chelsea. They've got an ex-Spurs manager, plus it's Chelsea. Like, so, you know, there's so many reasons to hate. And I want them to fail as well. Like, I don't know. I just don't see them bouncing back as quick as they seem to think they are.
Wasn't he in charge, Pochettino, with Spurs when they had that battle with Chelsea and that massive ding-dong a few years ago? Wasn't he in charge then?
That's when
the battle of the bridge.
Yeah,
when,
that's it.
Who was
when they finished third in a 2-horse race.
Yeah, that's the one. Because you know that those plastic Chelsea fans they got a porn star as a fan, haven't they? That's cool.
I know this isn't a John Terry Wonderland, but can we just have a little look at this Wikipedia thing at their top signings? And you tell me when to stop at a decent signing. Fernandes, 106 million. Lukaku, fraud Kaku, 95 million. Havertz, 72. Kepa, unpronounceable, 71. Wesley Fofana, 70 million. Mudryk, the Croatian duck, 62. Pulisic,
I say Fofana wasn't a bad signing.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
Sorry, I was stopping you at Fofana.
Not for that price though. I think he's like budget Saliba.
Yeah, but if you were going to try and get Saliba, if you were trying to get Saliba out of Leicester.
Yeah,
and remember they charged 80 million for Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
There's puddles of wheat. Cucurella, Josh, 56. Has he been a success there?
No, but he was absolutely worth it. He was the best left back in the league when he was at Brighton, and he went to an absolute shit show with a manager who completely forgot how to use him.
We've got Raheem Sterling on 47 million. Nope. Ben Chilwell, 45.
I'd argue that's not bad value.
That's
he's
not
been
bad.
injured a lot, hasn't he? Yeah, he's not a bad player.
As well.
Ziyech,
the only really good one would be Kovacic.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably been a hit, to be fair.
Ziyech, no, 37 million. This bloke,
Badiashile, he will. I think he will come good, but it's too early to tell yet.
Bakayoko,
good God, no.
And Koulibaly,
yeah, no.
I forgot they paid. Sorry, can we just reiterate how much they paid for Koulibaly?
30 million, yeah.
At 31 and signed him to a 4-year deal. Yeah, cool.
Mukiele from PSV.
And Noni, who's he? Never heard of him.
Noni Mukiele, yeah. Ex-Spurs as a youth.
He was.
Gusto, never heard of him, 26 million. I think when you're going to go down most of their squad, they've either been rubbish or they've had a couple of decent players, but the amount of money they've spent is no wonder they've got to get rid of half of those players.
The last good signing Chelsea made was Marcos Alonso's lawyer. I think that was the last decent signing they made. So that's good. Well, I think that's enough about Chelsea. I mean, obviously with Havertz, we'll see what happens. And with regards to the Rice thing, it feels like a matter of time, but we've been here before. We've had our little fingies burnt this way before, so. You know the rules, people. Until he's still on the pitch holding a pen and paper and signing a deal, then it isn't real.
I'd agree with Avon, by the way, who says he would take Levi Carl-Will. I'd drive him to whichever ground will take him.
What position is it? Which fullback is he? Left or right?
No, left centre back. Left centre back. 19.
He is kind of the next one off the block in terms of English centre backs, isn't he? Him and Mark Gahey seems like the two.
I think he's better than Gahey. And not just because he's at Palace. He's just had a ropey house season, basically.
Yeah, I'd agree. What about before we talk outgoings? Because I feel like we need to do that. We've got the news. We kind of, I think we all of us in this chat said it was coming, and I was pretty confident. Saliba's new deal looks like it's going to be done. I'll just go to one of you on this one, Danny. Let's go to you on this one. Happy with that? I mean, there was a lot of sort of suggestions that I think even Man United had a sniff. Oh dear. But yeah, there was a bit of speculation that the clubs were quite far apart. I never believed it. It was very clear that they just needed to make sure this back injury wasn't a big thing, and and he wanted to be paid what he's worth. And as we said on the last podcast, he's worth every penny of the near 200k. I've heard it's going to be 180k a week. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what I've been told. It's just a good positive signing, isn't it? Not just him, but you've got Big Gabby, Aaron Ramsdale, Ben White's on a long-term contract. That back four is all nicely tied down, isn't it? So it can only be a good thing, right?
Yeah, that shows that Arsenal are not the Arsenal of old, where we'd have a wonderful player and let them go because we couldn't agree wages or they wanted to go. You have got someone there who is the best centre-back we have had at the club. Oh, God. Going back... maybe as good as Sol Campbell and Tony Adams. That kind of stature.
Campbell's the one I would have picked out, yeah.
Just absolutely stunning. And for a player like that, where he could go and be the starting player for any club in the known and unknown universe for the next decade, that's how good he is. And he's not like Gabriel Megalegs, where he loses the plot every now and then, and you think, oh, he's on one. Saliba doesn't do that. If you look, you can see Saliba. I've said this before. Saliba, when he watches the game, it's like the Matrix. He slows time down and he reads it. And then if he does make a mistake, he can turn time back and wiggle back and go and sort it out. The way he reads the game. I remember, Chris, we were talking when he was at Saint Etienne, and then he was on loan at Nice, and then he was at Marseille. And I said, look at the players around him. I couldn't believe you'd have centre-backs making over 100 passes a game. I thought, if he comes to Arsenal, is he going to be allowed to do that? And he is. He gets that ball like Sol Campbell. He brings that ball out and he spreads it around like someone who's a creative midfielder. And you look at that and you think, well, he signed. And he has obviously been drinking the Arteta Kool-Aid, which is what we want them all to do. And now that team is all set up for the next 4 or 5 seasons of playing together. And this is on the arc of like when you have like maybe a 1 to 10 of how good and had the progress. I said out of 10, we're probably about an 8 out of 10 on a good day, maybe 8.5. And on the progress, we're only up to about stage 3, stage 4 out of 10. And these all committing to the future. It's just going to be unbelievable because we have got so many fantastic players in every position. Normally, any one of those players would be the star player at any of the clubs outside of the top 3 or 4. They would be lucky if they each had one of these players. We have got 5 or 6 or 7 of them all in our side at the same time, at the same age. That is something that we look at this in years to come. We were buying players that were hoping they were still at their peak. Some of them we were going, well, maybe they can still get back to their peak. These players haven't even reached their peak yet. They are so many, and they're going to be world-class players. And we've got loads of them, and they are all together. And we used to say that it would have to be because they're Hale-End boys that they all play together and they play better. These lot are going to be playing better because they've been playing together and they have the ability. And it is just fantastic work. And the club and Edu and Vinay and all the rest of them and Garlic and whatever, they ain't going to get the what's the word? The acknowledgement. The plaudits, the acknowledgement of what they've done now. And people are still on Twitter moaning about them. Come on, get it done. Even if we sign nobody for next season, I still think we would have a hell of a team. And Saliba is the diamond in that team. Without him at the back, we saw the end of last season, we are a mess. As much as Gabriel Megalegs is brilliant, and Ben White is really good, and Ramsdale is good, he is the key to our defence. And he is, what is he? He's barely out of nappies. He's
21, yeah. And Saliba makes Gabriel a better defender as well. It's the partnership.
Yeah,
those two is together. That's the thing. And when we, like you said, Danny, referring to our conversations we had about him when he was at Nice and Saint Etienne, 2.5, 3 years ago, for all those people that want to believe certain ITKs or not, here's a little tip for you. Maybe when you go on Twitter or social media, maybe listen to the people that have actually watched players in the leagues they're in before signing them week in, week out, and form your opinion off there. It's just an idea, And I'm not just referring to like our knowledge of various leagues, but like I said earlier on, somebody like Drew who's watched Kai Havertz, look at these sort of accounts, and if Joe Blogs is tweeting about the next big thing out of Brazil, just have a little sift through his timeline and see if he's ever actually watched any Brazilian football before. The likelihood is these people are just retweeting stuff.
The team that I watched the second most number of games of last season was Marseille, because it's full of ex-Arsenal players or Arsenal players on loan there. And and Inter Milan and stuff like that. And I don't watch any Spanish football. I have no interest in any team in that league at all. That league is done. Apart from if they're going to try and spunk a load of money on it. It's good to see teams collapse over there. But yeah, watching the French teams it's been fun this last season. Watching Kolasinac to roll back the years, and then you realise he's not actually 35 years old. He's only 29 years old, and
he's got wonderful hair these days as well.
Watching Sanchez play has been fun.
Mobster. Sorry,
no, I agree with you. I said watching Sanchez play has been fun.
Yeah,
I didn't think he'd do so well.
And his lovely tash. He looks like some kind of 80s porn star now. It's great.
He's got a tickler on him.
We've come a long way since a back four of what Murray and Mustafi and Kolasinac and
Bellerin.
How did you survive that? No, seriously, how did you survive
Yeah, you're right. Survived is the word.
I saw you did a bit of love the other day for Bellerin, Kris.
I love Hecky. Nice. I genuinely wish him all the best. Like, I think he's a pretty good footballer. I don't think I think that injury, unfortunately, is what killed the potential he had. He never quite found the levels after that. But no, he just strikes me as a really lovely bloke, and it's really quite heartwarming to see him go back to Betis. So good luck to the lad, I say. What about, let's talk about outgoings, because there's a little bit of chatter about a few things. The latest one I saw was PSG linked with Odegaard. By the way, don't believe that. It's absolute bollocks. PSG have got bigger fish to fry. They are not taking Odegaard, so just disregard that straight off the bat. But yeah, there is. Oh, Avon asked about it. There you go. There you are, Avon. Don't worry. You can sleep peacefully at night. My friend Odegaard is in contract renewal talks with us. He ain't going anywhere. Don't worry about that.
There was that article, wasn't there, linking Thierry Henry going to be the manager of PSG.
Oh, I love that one.
That's still,
and
there is still
Saliba, Odegaard,
yeah,
and
that's Tierney, not gonna happen.
And there was one other one he was going to take.
Thierry is very much his own man. I wouldn't rule out the idea of him joining like a Nagelsmann, but I think ultimately he'd quite like to be the number one, and that didn't really work out very well at Monaco. So, good pundit, not necessarily good manager. But there is a few we've got to ship out, and there is starting to be sort of suggestions that a few are on the way. I spotted a Nuno Tavares to Turkey rumour the other day. I can see that happening. Sambi's being talked about as going out on loan again, which seems a bit silly. I personally would just
sad that at the moment, with all this money to go and play in the sand, that we haven't got any players of that age, because we got rid of them all in previous years, and we struggled to get rid of them and cancel their contracts. And now we'd be getting money for them. They'd be smacking them up left, right. But we haven't got any old men.
Well, it's like Partey, isn't it? They're going to just cancel his contract, aren't they? I mean, it's scary how much we spent on some of those players, but you know, it is what it is. Josh, I'll start with you. Who would you put money on? Because there is all this sort of talk. We know who's gonna go. Like, we know Tierney's realistically gonna go, probably holding, unless he's just happy to sort of play the El Nene role and just hang around. But for the good of his career, probably best if he moves on. I guess a lot of people are sort of doing this thing of saying, "Oh, could there be a surprise exit?" I mean, would you put someone like Balogun into that bracket of surprise exit? Because I've got a sneaking feeling that Eddie might be the one that might be.
I think Balogun will be a surprise stay rather than a surprise go. I think
I would agree with that.
There's already the anguish, so we say, of a player who's still under contract at Arsenal leaving, despite not really saying much one way or the other. For every rumour one way, I can find a conflicting rumour the other way for what's going on with Balogun at the moment. And hey, I think this evening he's making his debut for the US, so
big
I think just go and support him.
Mexico, isn't it, I think.
Oh, classic derby.
Yes.
That's what we call
the Mike Hurst time, that one.
Yeah,
Mike Hurst derby next to USA.
But yeah, I think I can't really see anyone that would be shocking, because I expect everybody from that general best starting 11 to stick around. And I always thought that players that we signed in January, I saw that, Jorginho, there was a potential we'd flip him this summer. If the right offer came in and we could make money back, we could easily just, say, thanks, Chelsea. We know you needed some money. And you also, for some reason, decided you wanted to pay a release clause of a guy because you'd said you were going to do it, then said you didn't do it. Then Benfica were like, well, you're going to do it or not? You've unsettled our player. Give us the money. And Todd Bailey went, oh, I'm sorry, sir. And just gave them 120 million. But yeah, otherwise I can't really see anything that wildly would surprise me. No, I think I'm quite settled with what I think the squad's going to do. Yeah. Even like a Trossard, I could see one way or the other because I trust. Maybe it's because I trust the process. That's the problem.
Have you got a tattoo yet, though, of trust the process? Because
yeah, you don't want to know where the O is.
One of our young
where the
men,
hole is, where Polo
FA Cup
goes.
winner Matt Smith has just tweeted that he's leaving the club.
The end of an era.
Got an FA Cup winners medal.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I
Do
do.
you reckon they'll get him to keep his seat that he sat in so long?
One seat.
Take the one on the bench. Yeah.
The one that Laka sat in with an umbrella that time. It's kind of a shame. But actually, let me ask you this. I'll throw the similar question to you, Karl. But I can't remember what podcast I was listening to. It might have been Arseblog, it might be Arsenal Vision. I can't remember. But somebody was saying that we kind of, this modern world of football, we kind of have to come to terms with the fact that sometimes you just have to not be too attached to players, don't you? Like, as much as we all thought Charlie Patino would go far at this club, like, sometimes you just have to step back and go, as much as we like him and as much as he showed promise, we're now a legit, we'll come on to Man City in a minute, but we are now a legit, top 4 established club. Well, established is maybe a little bit rich, but we're up there. Let's put it that way. We should now be challenging for higher up in the table, and as best a team can challenge a City, we should be trying to do that at least. So maybe you just have to cut your cloth accordingly and say you can't have players like Charlie Patino if they're not going to be useful. You have to have actual established internationals as your backup, not just kids. So is it that case that we do have to just cut the cloth accordingly and say, actually, well, yeah, maybe we don't need to be so attached to these younger players?
Sadly, sometimes in football, there's no room for sentiment.
Yeah, that's exactly the word. Yeah,
you maybe have to be a little bit ruthless. And I think, there's players in the past that we maybe held on too long. I mean, Jack Wilshere, you think of that, like, he was injury-ridden, he was injury-prone, and I think if Arsene Wenger was still at the club, he would have given Jack a new contract. But I think it was Unai Emery who had that conversation with him, who said, look, you're not part of the plans, like, you can't stay fit, and, you had to go. And obviously, Jack Wilshere's career was cut short very, very early, but he's always going to be a cult hero, isn't he? You always wanted to keep hold of him, and sadly, we just couldn't. I think with the likes of Charlie Patino, like, he wants to go, he wants first team. I thought he'd be in and around the first team next season. I don't know if he can officially call it next season, this season now, but I thought he would be in and around the team. But obviously, he's had a taste of first team football at Blackpool, and he wants to start. And I understand, you don't want to go from starting every week, even if he's lower down in the leagues, to going back to the Premier League and starting on the bench and not getting game time. So I understand it, and so be it. I think there's probably one more person who's going to leave that we're not going to be happy with, because he's going to go to Man City, and that's our youngest player to ever.
Ranieri.
I think he's going to. I think Ethan is going to leave because I think his head's going to be turned like a Murray Hutchinson, unfortunately. But I think
look at the careers of players that have made their debut that young, though.
Yeah,
he's either going to be Wayne Rooney or James Vaughan. Put it that way.
Jermaine Pennant did it for Notts County. He was 15 when he made his debut, didn't he? Mm-hmm. That turned out to be a car crash.
Yeah, so I think maybe it's a good and a bad thing that he got his debut that early, but I do think he might leave this season. I think you're right, Kris. You look at the depth of Man City's have got, and how many youth team players have they got in their quote unquote depth? Not many. They've got established internationals. They've got people who, they've got 50 million £50 million players as backups sitting on their bench. You can't get a game. So, I'm not saying that we're ever going to be like that, because we're not. We don't have the finances for that at all. But I think you have to understand that if we can get some sort of money in and then that can facilitate somebody else in the squad, then so be it, if it makes us stronger. But I just think that sadly we are going to have to make some really uncomfortable decisions, and I think there'll be a surprise departure this season that nobody expects. Who that person is, I don't know. But
name him, Karl.
I think
you can't just throw it out there.
I think there will be a surprise departure. I still think, like, honestly,
Gabriel.
and I know no, not that. But I
Which
think
one?
that
Which Gabriel?
yeah, it's true. But I think if a Aston Villa come in for a bid for Emile Smith-Rowe for like 35 million, do Arsenal turn down 35 million for Smith-Rowe? Really? Like, do they? I don't think they do. I think if a Newcastle comes in for the 35 to 40 million pound bids, do Arsenal really turn that down, knowing that is he going to be a starter next season? No. If we get 45 million pounds for him, not saying that someone's going to pay 45 mil for him, but between 35 and 40 mil, if someone comes in for him, I don't think we turn it down. I just don't. I don't think that Arsenal at the moment turn that down, and I think that's going to be an unpopular sell if he goes. If he does go, but I think that'll be a very big surprise person to
I think
leave
the only
Arsenal.
one we're thinking that the surprise is everyone who signed a new contract in the last 18 months, basically. If suddenly we see that Saka's being sold, it's more than a surprise. More than a surprise. It's a bit of a... But I guess maybe that just shows in us kind of trusting that the outgoings that we're going to make are for the right reasons. And the incomings, we've seen enough, I think.
Thing with Smith-Rowe as well is he's been called up for the England under 21s, hasn't he, for the summer? That tournament's really big for him, I think, because that gives him that opportunity of getting A, minutes, B, fitness, and it's almost like a fresh start for him, isn't it? So I feel like that's going to determine what part of the plans he comes back into, because he'll come back right in time for pre-season, and if anything, he might be ahead of some of the other players with the amount of games or the amount of training he's going to be doing for England. So yeah, I kind of feel like he's got a big pre-season ahead of him. But yeah, I mean, if he hits the ground running, like Danny said earlier on, he was a really big part of that run-in, wasn't he, for us 2 seasons ago? So I'd rather keep him, but I sort of wouldn't be shocked, let's put it that way, if all of a sudden even a West Ham came in like after selling Rice, maybe. It just seems like one that could fester on. But yeah, there will be some outgoings, and we might have to cut our cloth accordingly and say goodbye to a few people. But at least Mo El-Nene will still be here. Like, that's the most important thing. He will be here. He will be here no matter what. To quote.
What do you do with a problem like Pepe, Chris?
Do I? Sorry, say again.
What do you do with a problem like Pepe? Like, Arteta clearly doesn't like him. Clearly doesn't want him. Well, I'm not saying doesn't want him, but doesn't fancy him as a player. And there's kind of, I don't know, maybe in France, but there's just no talk about any club kind of wanting him. So what do you do with his high wages? Do you cancel his contract? Do you subsidize some of his wages if you tell him, like, if you sell him to another club? Like, what happens to him?
There's 3 clubs that are interested, 2 in France, 1 in Italy. Monaco are interested, and Montpellier are interested. Montpellier is a difficult one because they don't really have the finances. But the talk is if they do let El Iwahi go, whether that's to us or anyone else, that they'll look at Pepe as a replacement there. And the link to Monaco is a little bit lazy because they're just rebuilding their squad. The one he would fit in quite well in, ironically, is Lyon, because they've probably got room. They've shipped, like, Houssam Aouar's gone, Moussa Dembele's gone. They've got some room for a wide forward there. The one in Italy is the one that interests me, because Fiorentina are apparently having a look at him, because they've got Jonathan Ikone, the French winger, already there, and they want to.
Hasn't someone just bought them?
Well, that was I did read that they were looking at, because he's quite high value, isn't he, Ikone? So somebody's looking at him, but if he moves on, it would be a good fit. But to answer your question, I would not be surprised if we just mutually agree to terminate, which is a shocking state of affairs. But like you said earlier on, it's not his fault that very large brown envelope was passed allegedly between Raul and company. I mean, You know, he was the informed player in France that season. He was absolutely outstanding for Lille. And unfortunately, much like we said about the Havertz thing at Chelsea, sometimes a manager or a player just doesn't fit. And Pepe for us just didn't fit. I'll die on this hill. We never used him the right way. We didn't. And that's...
You look at the highlights of him, and he was a really decent player at times. But look, Stanford, we still owe 24 million to pay out his contract, and he's on 140 grand a week. And although when he went to, was it Nice that he went to?
Yeah.
When he went there on loan, he took a massive pay cut, didn't he? But even if he took a 50%, we still paying £70,000 a week for someone we're never going to use.
Yeah.
So how much would it cost to cancel the contract? And then would we still have to pay the 24 million to his old club?
But if a club sort of agreed to pay us, like Karl was saying earlier on about these deals that drag on, like if a club said to us, right, we'll take Pepe off your hands for a free, but we'll pay you, 20 million over 5 years, then ultimately we're getting a player off the books wages wise, and we're still making a little bit of money back over a period of time. That's where the clubs with a lesser budget might come in. But the problem that Pepe's got is he wasn't particularly good for Nice when he went back on loan last season. It's not like he went back to France and lit it up. He started all right, and then he got an injury, and I think he was out for about 6 weeks. He never really got back up to speed. That Lille side he was in, the title-winning side, it was built for him. He would have that free role. He could play left wing, right wing, through the middle. He was constantly rotating in that front line. And that's where I think if we'd have used him right, we probably would have got the best out of him. And that's not to have a go at Arteta. It's the same at whatever level you play at. You can be a Sunday League player. If the manager just, for whatever reason, just doesn't fancy you, he doesn't have to justify himself. It doesn't matter how much you cost or how flash your boots are or what car you arrive in the car park in. If the manager doesn't fancy you, he doesn't fancy you. And that's unfortunate for Pepe. There was some suggestions off the pitch. Life wasn't the best, but I mean, he's a modern footballer. That most of them are dickheads, aren't they? Let's be honest. I wouldn't hold that against him. But
if only we'd have waited 1 year to buy Lille's best player.
Oh yeah, well yeah, make Arsenal Canadian again. But yeah, I mean But I wouldn't at all be surprised if he went for either a nominal fee, which is the new what was it they used to say, undisclosed fee. It's now nominal fee, so nobody ever really knows how much a player goes for. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went for a nominal fee or free.
I think nominal is didn't get what they wanted, and undisclosed is got more than they were expecting.
Got more than they were expecting. Yeah, exactly that.
But it is the absolute worst Arsenal transfer ever, and right up there with the worst Premier League transfer ever for the amount of money and what we've got out of him, and what we're going to get out of him, and he is still a weight round our neck until we do something about it, because it's just a disaster, and it's not really his fault.
I'd put Diawara in that box as well, bless him.
Yeah, but
the man who could only ever hit the post and the crossbar, and that was it.
The amount of money he cost us in paint, having to repaint those crossbars.
Yeah,
really bankrupted the club.
God bless him. Just the last sort of 20 minutes of this pod, because we are not doing a 2-hour podcast tonight. So sorry if you've tuned in for that, but last time we went on far too long. We're only going to do an hour and a half. But I did just want to talk about general football. Danny, you're as cynical as I am. Did you enjoy the sports washing victory in the Champions League final? I didn't watch it. I went for a run. Fuck them.
It was shit.
But isn't it so wholesome that state-funded, oil-rich Manchester City won yet another soulless prize that means absolutely nothing?
It's amazing, because I'm still getting people retweeting a tweet that I did saying... Oh, I can't find it. I got a retweet of it today. Oh, well done, City. It's magical that they have managed to do what they have managed to do on such a tiny budget, and do it all without breaking or even bending the rules. It's amazing what 1.5 billion will buy you nowadays. I did that on the the final, and then I did a list of all their relegations. And I'm still getting people retweeting it. So it's an absolute disgrace. And they're not going to do anything about it. Because we saw when UEFA tried to challenge... Oh, don't want that there, do you? No. When UEFA tried to challenge Man City said, we'll just argue with you until you run out of money. And the Premier League go, we don't have as much money as UEFA, although it's close. We're just going to let them get away with it. And every season, it's 115 charges every season. That's going to go up by about another 15 because they're doing the same thing season, or maybe even go up by about 20 or 30 because they're the same charges season after season after season. So Next season, it'll be 130. The season after that, it'll be 145 or however many it is per season. And they will not do anything about it. And Newcastle have gone, hold my beer, you watch this, if they want to, because Newcastle owners have got enough money to buy Man United, to buy Man City, to buy Chelsea, and still have enough money left over to buy every other team in the league.
They've started, haven't they? Because their new shirt sponsor, apparently is Saudi based.
Karl have made rules that you're not allowed to have inflated sponsorship deals. They've stopped that. Silly Karl.
And if you're owned by a gambling company, you're not allowed to put your own logo on the shirt either. Not allowed to do that. But if you're but anyone else, fine.
Yeah, so it started with Newcastle already.
Do you know the thing that really cheesed me off about City and City fans?
This should be a long list.
Because both of the leagues you watch are ruined by sports washing teams.
Well, that's also true. Yeah, the thing that pisses me off, especially about Man City fans, Northerners can just get in the bin because I just can't stand fucking Northerners and they speak like they're uneducated. That's just eliminated 90% of our audience. So hi guys, so thanks for coming. But when you hear them, and I know that 606 is an intelligence quiz because anyone that listens to it, you don't listen to it because you want to hear intelligent callers. You listen to it.
It's just a game of gotcha. Oh, you said this. I know you did this.
And it's so funny listening to the absolute morons that phone up. Honestly, hilarious. But the City fans that ring up and they're so arrogant, they're so stuck up. And I'm sitting here thinking, without Paul Dickoff, your club doesn't exist, mate. You literally
they won't even know what that
close.
Means, though. They'll have no idea what you're talking about.
But they're so fucking arrogant now. And they're like, oh, yeah, we won the Champions League. No, you haven't. You bought the Champions League, you fucking mugs. And the thing that really makes me laugh about them is when you challenge it, what they do is they throw two things at you. They throw the racism card and they say, oh, no, you're racist against Arabs. Well, no, it's just that Arabs have got the money. Nobody else can compete with the money those Arabs have. It doesn't matter that they're Arabs. It matters they have the money. It's nothing to do with race. And the other thing that pisses me off with them is they say, oh, well, we haven't bought success. Our net spend, remember the good old net spend, is actually lower than 90% of the Premier League. No. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you can stockpile players like Calvin Phillips and stop people buying them. You can pay these players ridiculous wages. You can afford to just literally write off players like Riyad Mahrez this summer for nothing. So you can get what you need out of them and then just move them on. And the money that circulates that club, where do you think all the facilities come from? Where do you think all the drugs? Sorry. Steroids. No, that's drugs as well. Damn it. The injury prevention that they do. Where do you think the money for that comes from? It doesn't come from the fucking sky, does it? So it's not just about the actual players they sign. It's about the money that's washing around the whole. Was it the other day that I think it was Barry Glendenning described them as an alien club? They're not a football club. They're just this entity that's just swallowing up everything. And
it just seems plastic. It just seems
exactly. It's fake, isn't it?
And everyone's very indifferent. If an English team was to get to the Champions League final, normally apart from Liverpool and Chelsea.
Man United.
Spurs. And Spurs. Yeah. So
all our rivals, basically. Yeah.
Kind of maybe I want English league. Oh, you feel a bit jealous.
Yeah.
Even as much as I hate it, when it was the Liverpool Spurs final, I was jealous that those two teams made it to the final, and whoever won, I was angry that either of them won. Man City won, and I felt nothing. I didn't feel angry because. If Man United had won it, I would have been angry. I would have been pissed off. But Man City won it, and you kind of just oh, okay. I know,
that's cool. Cute. Yeah.
No one cares. And the flipping, and I think Josh might have spoken about this in the group, the absolute bum licking from BT Sports or TNT or whatever the fuck they're called now. About Man City. It TNT, was absolute joke. Josh, do you remember what they were saying? The things that they were saying, oh, this is the club's dream or something like that. And you're like,
my Darren Fletcher, wasn't it? The culmination of a dream.
Yeah.
And there was can we check on Joelyn Lescott? Because
he had more games for Wolves than Man City.
Yeah, exactly. Although, to be fair, they did say he was the player liaison officer. So, because there were so many players there. So,
What was the line Fletcher trotted out? The
he
greatest
tried
story
to take...
in English football history has an end.
Yes.
Fuck
Yeah,
off.
he tried that one, and then he also tried to use the 89.
Oh, that was in the West Ham game, wasn't it? Is that from
Oh, yeah,
Ramsdale
that was
they
from
used?
West Ham.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it. But yeah, there was definitely the one of what's his face? What's his name? Got all his attributes in luck, nothing in charisma. Jake Humphries. That's it.
Oh God.
Talking about, I don't think he was even good enough for Blue Peter. Jake Humphries. Him just going on about, Kyle Walker, you've won the Champions League. How does your mum feel about it? Like, come on, could have gone to any. Oh, isn't it great? Or the sacrifice your parents made for it. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, my parents worked really hard. She didn't have a quid for it. And then Rio's like, oh, go on, lighten up. Go on, Carl, what are you having next? What's your next drink? What's your next drink? And you're like,
it's just.
They should have asked how Kyle Walker's dog felt about it. That would have been an interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I agree with all of you, and people will say, like, City fans or whatever, they're like, oh, you're just bitter. You're just bitter. You're damn fucking right. I'm bitter because your club is fake as fuck. Like, you're absolute frauds. Like, you really are. And I never thought, and you might want to shut your ears, Karl, because this will upset you, I know. But I never, ever thought I'd be defending Man United's treble. But their treble was 100 times more of a success story than Man City's ever will be. And these fucking idiots that come on phone-ins and say, Pep Guardiola is the best coach of all time. Fuck off. The things that Ferguson did in that era, whether you liked him or you didn't, the things that Wenger did, they talk about Pep being this master tactician. What? Because he moved the left back into central midfield. It's not fucking rocket science. Like, and the only reason he's got away with it is because he's had the ability that he knows his team is so fucking good that he could probably play bloody Ederson at right wing and nobody would notice. The only times he's ever been found out because his squad wasn't good enough is when he fucked around in finals and lost it. But in the Premier League, nobody can compete with Man City. He can play Ederson at left back against Brentford and probably win. So this idea that he's reinvented football and that all the other managers are following suit, I'm just not buying it. Like, it's just so false.
It's still funny to see that anyone could do a treble now, isn't it? Like, it's not so special, is it?
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
A treble.
And I would say the same about any other club. And if PSG ever win it, which they probably won't ever win it, I'd say the same. Like, it'd be great for French football in terms of just getting their name on the map, but it wouldn't be. It's like when Marseille won it with the corruption that they had. It's not a real trophy. It's not. It's the same when Chelsea won it. Did we feel anything then?
The real question is then, which league do we have to go to find that the top team isn't corrupt?
Not Italy, not Spain, not England.
Belgium.
Germany?
Belgium.
No, not Germany. Just have a look at what goes through Bayern's accounts from Audi, the 50+1 rule with Bayern's structure.
Leipzig say hi.
Yeah, we can't say the USA now or the MLS after the Inter Miami deal. That's Barcelona light.
Hello, Gary. Phil Neville, if you're watching, unemployed.
No, isn't he on the USA coaching team? I want to say
he's supposed to be one of the coaches, isn't he? Yeah, I heard that being talked about. Yeah.
God. Wow.
It's just grim, and I'm not.
Mike Hertz might have it. Dutch league. There you
go. Although there's a bit of fiddle going on with PSV and Ajax if you look into it deep enough.
Maybe.
But I mean, let's be honest. Like, at the top level,
that was just Overmars' text, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, true. We've got a sponsor on our sleeve that says "Visit Rwanda" for fuck's sake. Like, I'm not saying we're whiter than white, but City. If you look at City as a model, even down to this whole, well, we've created jobs in the community. Yeah, for good PR. That's it. You didn't do it for the benefit of Man City. You've done it for good PR. And like this idea that, Pep sits in his press conferences and I'm so proud. I'm so proud. This club is amazing.
So happy.
Like, so happy. So happy. He's just so sanctimonious and just full of shit. Look, jokes aside, he's a very good coach. Has he ever really been tested? No. Like, he just hasn't, has he? Like, he hasn't ever had to overcome adversity. and that just everything about them just makes you feel a bit gross. But we could talk about Man City forever. I don't want to.
Yes. Let's
Any
do
other
quick, Chris. So
Yeah.
Mbappe. The madness with
how quick do you want that to be?
No, 5 minutes. So everyone knows that he's wrote this. Oh, you explain it, because I'm sure you got my.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easiest thing to do is go and listen to our latest podcast that Jez and I did last night. We explained it in that. But in short, he signed a new deal at the start of last season, which was a 2+1 deal. So it's 2 years contract with the option of a +1 year if he chooses and the club agree to extend it. So he signed a new contract last summer, which everyone was surprised about because they thought he was going to go. His contract, as it stands right now, expires at the end of this season, which means in theory he could walk away for free. PSG and more specifically their owner Nasser El Khalifi has got far too much of an ego to ever let a player of that value walk away. And to be fair, you wouldn't let a player of that value walk away. Mbappe has come out since in the press and said, I sent them the letter detailing that I wouldn't be, signing the 1 year deal, which he's perfectly entitled to do. Jez made the point on our podcast yesterday, was saying that in a way he's actually helping his club. He loves PSG. He does. He's actually, if anything, he's giving them the heads up. If you want to sell me, if you want to make money off me, now is the time to do it because I'm not going to sign a new deal. But at the same time, he has said that he wants to stay at PSG for the next season, and he's entitled to do that because he signed a new contract. The only interesting thing to me about all this is the timing. I don't think it's a coinky-dink that Benzema suddenly decided that Real Madrid was in his back pocket and he could go to Saudi. I feel like this one is going to run a bit. But what I will say is when it's all said and done, I would not be surprised at all if he lined up for PSG at the start of the season again. I wouldn't be. But could he be sold in January? Because that's an interesting one. Because if PSG are not competing in the Champions League or they're not showing signs that they've improved, the whole argument was Mbappe laid down the gauntlet to PSG and said, right, I'll sign a new deal, but you need to sort the squad out. We need a proper manager. They brought in Galtier. We need a proper squad. They signed the likes of Carlos Soler. I don't think I need to say any more on that. They haven't done it. Messi was a failure ultimately. He had his moments, but ultimately he didn't win the Champions League. That's what he's brought in for. Neymar's going to probably end up going this summer as well, and that's not worked out. So
how can Messi go from scoring 70 goals a season for Barcelona to barely getting double figures for PSG in a dog and pony league?
Because he won the World Cup and he down tools. Simple as that. He was very good up to the World Cup and now he doesn't give a fuck. And why would he? And this is why it's going to be a huge test for City next season. How do you motivate people that have won it all? Messi had nothing to prove.
Will this hasten the departure of Pep now that he's won it?
No. Because hasn't he come out and said he said he's got a 2-year plan or something? But he did that at Bayern, didn't he? I'll be here for another year, and he stayed for 3. Like he will with Pep, it will be like all about him, and he'll go when he wants to go.
I think it depends on what's going on to the World Cup. You've got the World Cup coming up. You got Euros. If the Euros goes poorly or Copa America. Is it Copa America?
Yeah, it's this summer, isn't it? Yeah. Will be next summer. Yeah.
All of those ones. There was definitely, I know in his sabbatical, Brazil was very, very close for him coming out of that sabbatical to go and manage Brazil at the Brazil World Cup. So I could easily see that coming up again. I mean, it all depends on how much he wants to suckle from the teat of the oil merchants.
We all like a good suckle.
Well, at the moment, he can almost get any player in the world that he wants. So, and he knows that unless another team, I think a lot probably rides on when Man United get taken over by their Saudi owners, and depending on how much money they put behind the club and the players they get, can they go toe to toe with Man City for players? It's going to take a little while because
I think they can
talking
go
about the whole
toe-to-toe.
summer, aren't they?
They can go toe to toe with Man City now. The problem is they're just an absolute nightmare behind the scenes. I think look at how long it took City to sort out their back room, and the only reason they managed to sort it out was because they had this long-term goal that they dreamt that Pep Guardiola would be their manager. So they basically went and built basically Barcelona light behind the
exactly
scenes.
Yeah.
And then went, okay, cool. And then Pep, but basically, we've hired half your mates anyway 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Come on
we
down.
want to league with them. Come in and finish off the project.
And the thing, just going back to Mbappe quickly as well. The other thing with that deal is people say, oh, he likes the drama, he's being a bit arrogant or whatever. I think I made this point in our WhatsApp group the other day. Thierry Henry did the same. He was an arrogant shit but he was ours and we loved him. Mbappe knows his value. Like he knows that he can literally sign for any club he wants. He knows he's the best player in the world. And yes, he is better than the Norwegian meat shield. He has his pick, and all he has done is laid down the gauntlet to PSG. He didn't need to sign that new deal last summer. He could have just walked away for free. And if PSG now want to cash in, it's their problem. They are the ones that ultimately have let down their best player, and they have. And all he's doing is he knows his worth. That's it. And if he stays, then great. But ultimately, he is going to play for Real Madrid, just like Saliba probably one day will play for Real Madrid because he's that good. But it's all about timing, isn't it?
I was just going to say, realistically, who can buy him? So, what's he on? Like, is it £1 million a week?
He's on all the money.
Yeah, it's
everything. Not even a number.
I don't think it really matters, does it, about his wages though? Because he's going to get a lot of money, and there's image rights and all that. It's more for him about where he wants to play.
Yeah, sporting project.
And then they just make the numbers work then to not piss off the squads. And obviously, Nike will do something.
He wants to play for Real Madrid, like that. He wants to play for Real Madrid. That's it. That's what he wants to do. But it's all about timing. Like if Man United get taken over tomorrow, they could afford to buy him. Like they could. Newcastle could afford to buy him, but Mbappe's not going to sign for Newcastle. Let's be honest.
It's the same as the Declan Rice situation, to bring it back to Arsenal as well. You've seen all the clubs that are going in for him. The guy wants to come to Arsenal, so there's no rush in us to get the deal done, quote unquote. At the moment, we can't even use the Emirates Stadium because the Arctic Monkeys are playing there. So we can't do any of the press shots that we want to do with Declan Rice. So it's either that question of what kind of announcement video do you want?
I'm sure we'll find a nice hotel with a green screen, Josh. Did you see the fixtures that they released today with that pretty backdrop on the app? It looks very pretty.
I didn't see it. No, maybe they can do it in the same studio that Zinchenko did the thing with Piers Morgan with. Maybe they'll do that.
God,
Stan wasn't happy about that. Stan had a bit of a rant.
Can I just very quickly?
I don't think many people are happy.
Can I just quickly bring it back to Arsenal? Charles Watts tweeted an hour ago, Rob Holding has accepted a new contract with the club. The deal will keep him at the club till 2027.
Nice.
Good.
Didn't see that coming. Did any of you?
But he
I think fair play.
I guess that's just... I mean, reiterating and probably going in and telling what his stance is.
Have you had a look at his previous tweets?
How many one is it the real Charles Watts?
I was going to say, I don't think it's the real Charles Watts. I think that's why people are falling for it.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't think it isn't. No, it isn't. Scratch that then.
Okay.
See, it's so easy, isn't it? It's so easy.
I was just looking at Man City. Did you know that the Norwegian Meat Shield only scored 1 goal in his last 8 games for them this season, and that Man City lost 1 in their last 28 games?
I think next season is going to be harder because I think there's going to be an added weight of expectation for Arsenal. I know we wasn't going to talk about it, but quickly I've seen the fixtures and, there's nothing in those first 5 or 6 fixtures that kind of worry me. You got Man United at home, maybe, but you got that lot up the road as well. There's nothing that kind of really, really sort of stands out. But I do think that in order for us to kind of maintain pace with Man City, we've got to, I think, win quite early, because what we don't want is to be chasing them. I mean, again, I'm not really going on to the fixtures, but Man City's running looks the easiest of all of ours, which is really weird that they've got no, like, quote unquote, top 6 players in their last, how many other games? I can't remember what it is. So, yeah, and if we're fighting on all fronts, I think the fixtures, they're going to come thick and fast. And I think, whenever you play them, it makes a difference whenever you play. You have to play 19 other teams home and away. we have to do that. We're going to do it. And, you know, you have to try and win all your games. There's going to be games that we can't win, sadly. But there we are. I think once we get one signing over the line, I think people's relief will go down. I think once we do actually sign Declan Rice, or whoever it is, I think you'll see a lot of people, you know, start getting hyped and a little belief. I mean, I'm excited. Those fixtures come out today and I got excited. I was like, shit, I can't wait. Like, I cannot wait till August and those first games. Like, I just can't wait to
season ticket yet? Via one
I can't believe I mean, I really would love Femi to be on there, but the renewals this season, usually you get maybe 2,000 or 3,000 that either don't renew, and the list moves quite significant. There has not been a lot this season at all. Like, I think I said I'm on like 3,000 for something along them lines. So this would have been the time I would have got a season ticket 100%. It has not budged. I mean, I don't know if they've updated the list. I haven't checked my number, to be honest, but there has been very little movement on the season ticket waiting list completely. And I think there were Femi was saying,
are they?
No, not while we're good at the moment.
You know what? When the first season at the Emirates, I had 4 season tickets.
You didn't give one to me.
That was a long
That's
time
how many
ago.
seats you took up.
Fucking hell!
Hey! I'm sure that's a hate crime. I'll have to report you to our head of PR, Dom, if he ever replies to any messages I send him.
Maybe.
I would say if you're watching Dom, we all know he fucking is, and he's probably off being sexy.
We've got a decent start to the season, haven't we? Like I say, we all said before the pod we weren't really going to discuss the fixture list because it's a bit dull. But the first month looks, but the first month looks fairly generous to us, doesn't it? Like a couple of home ties. I think first 4 games are in London. You know, Liverpool played Chelsea on the first day of this game of the season, so one of those 2 managers will be in crisis after one game, which is hilarious. You know, so Man United at home to Wolves on Monday night. That's got Wolves 3-0 written all over it. So, you know.
How about this from Mike Hertz? He said he saw a tweet, which means nothing nowadays, that said, confidentially, all of our games after Champions League games are home games.
Yeah, they are.
But then at the same time, it aren't the last 3 Champions League games. I think we got Man City, Man United and Liverpool straight after them. The last 3.
And I also want to say, if we're saying that those are really interesting things at this time of the year, then we've all really got to go outside and enjoy the sunshine.
I have looked. See it on my head.
When it was like, oh, look how interesting the fixture list is, I'm like, no.
But the one thing I did take away from it is that we can win the league at Old Trafford again.
Oh,
and
that
we
would
can
be
win
fun.
it all at White Hart Lane as well. They're both a few games.
I mean, I'd settle for winning the league last year when the 115 charges come to pass. To be fair, I'm happy to take an asterisk. I'm all right with that. I'm
Chris,
fine with that.
I think it would just be an absolute honour if we were the first team to win a trophy at White Hart Lane after they've rebuilt it.
Love it.
I
would absolutely love it.
That would be
So we were the last team to win a trophy there, and then be the first team to win a trophy at the new.
That would be quite funny. That would be quite funny. I want to draw a line under this podcast as well by just sort of giving a quite a good news story. I don't follow women's football. I will openly hold my hands up on that. It's just a personal choice.
It's a worrying trend when most of the people I know who follow women's football are men. Why?
Well,
it's like monkey tennis. It's interesting for about 5 minutes, and then they wouldn't even be able to compete against conference side teams. So go and support a conference team like Barnet instead.
Well, yeah. I mean,
don't do that. It gets out of hand, and then you end up with 2 top 6 Premier League sides that you end up supporting.
There is that. If you like women's football, go for gold. Like, I'm all about, equality all the way. Go for it. Enjoy what you enjoy. One story I did think was quite wholesome though. Adidas have announced that they are going to be giving the women a bespoke away kit this season, and we are apparently the first team in world football to have the females.
I thought you could buy a females kit anyway.
No, not a
design.
Not as in the cut, as in a specific design.
So
the Arsenal men's will wear the deliciously gorgeous neon away strip we're releasing next season, which I love. The men will wear that. The women are going to wear I
think the slightly different thing is the Invincibles. That's a different thing as well, isn't it? Because the women have also gone invincible but it was a different record. So rather than
Yeah.
having the men's invincible record going down the
They
scene,
won
they're
5
getting-
trophies that season, I think.
They
yeah,
did.
they're getting their record down the side
Good.
instead.
That's good.
Quite
Yeah.
right. Have
But
you
they're-
seen
But
that
the away kit
controversy?
is actually bespoke. It's an actual their own design. So it's not the kit the man will wear. It's completely. I think it's pink and sky blue. I think I read.
There's
So-
that controversy going around at the moment on Twitter. Could be fake, Chris. You might know. But
Twitter
the current
controversy?
home kit has got all the WWDs and meant to be 38 of them. People have been counting them. Some people have got 32 on their kits.
People.
Is that because
Yeah,
they're
it's
small?
I
They're
know
more
it's
small.
dark now, but that big thing in the sky, it's beautiful. Get out in it, for Christ's sake.
Oh,
your
Just
shirt-
some stuff.
put your
There's
shirt
just a
on.
random
None of-
number depending on how big the
Fuck
kit
me.
is.
One of your
Like-
mates is not going up and counting your W's.
Exactly. I've got some beautiful kits. They're in here. They don't.
And what's the
even see
real
light of
answer
day.
for that? Because I've seen it, and people are Paul Dawes, who knows his stuff when it comes to kits. He retweeted it, and then I saw it. Is it just simply down to if you get a small kit, you're going to get 28?
Exactly.
If you get the
It's
extra
just
kit, you're
material.
going to get all.
Yeah.
It's just material. It's absolute poppy.
It's not conspiracy. Then I don't need to.
Maybe
get
they
Alex
should
Jones.
say. Maybe they should say where you cut off. If you're a small, you got Portsmouth home.
You got the Van Nistelrooy at Old Trafford. That's
Yeah.
all you get. Yeah,
That's all you get.
Got to hate Chris.
Do you know
it's
it's almost up there. It's almost up there. Forgive me, I don't know the guy who tweeted this. God bless him. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But there was a guy's tweet who went viral the other day, and he's like, "Remember when Arteta came in and he said he wanted the players to settle down and marry early? Look at all the players that are getting married. He's clearly got his message across." And I was just like, for fuck's sake. Like, do you really think he went into the changing room? Right, you married, you kid, you married, fuck off. They just love each other. That's it. They just got married or they just had kids. Nothing to do with Arteta.
I've got
Oh
a
my
point
God.
here because
The cult of Mikel is alive
because-
and well.
because Josh stated that I only had 4 season tickets, I take up so many seats. Fatism. Jimmy has now put on Danny's kit, he would have 132 letters.
Four
laughing
years
at it for?
invincibility confirmed.
Absolutely outrageous. Danny.
Absolutely unbelievable.
Good
I can't
God.
believe it.
Right, should
Have we
get
got
some
any
listeners'
really
questions?
quick questions? And I mean quick because we're already 10 minutes over what we should have been.
Do you want to ask them, Karl?
No, you do it, Danny.
Okay.
Somebody
Jimmy
do it,
was
for Christ's
there 24 hours early. First question with, I don't know who started it. I think it probably was Josh because he's organised.
It was me,
Jimmy
actually,
says,
fucking cheek.
oh, there you go. With us clearly
Gracious.
going
Sorry,
very
Carl,
heavy on
I fully
current-
witnessed that white privilege, and I said nothing about it to step in. I just took it.
Yeah.
It's in the summer, Josh. It's red privilege because you and me are both red. We're
Sorry.
not fucking white anymore. I mean, although you keep fanning yourself like a lady who's going through the menopause, I'm getting a bit worried. You
It's
haven't had the
very
snip change. You're not allowed. Have you changed all your pronouns? And we now have to refer to you as her, him,
It's
they.
it's
It's-
very warm in my flat. That's all I can say.
Do what Chris does. Fuck it. He lives on the M4. Just have the window open. All the vehicles driving past.
Fuck it.
It's not quite the M4, but it
He
does
lives,
feel like
in
it.
a bridge under the M4. I don't know why I picked M4. I don't even know if that's anywhere near you. Get on with it. Fair enough.
I've got the fan on.
Jimmy says, with us clearly going very heavy on current Premier League players to bring in, is this a good idea or should we look at other leagues as clearly we are, as a club, are bigger draw now to overseas players, Josh? Make that what you will. You highlighted it, you pay the price.
Thank you. Oh, and you've unhighlighted it, so now I can't even read what it said to try and remember what the question was. Fuck's sake, Danny.
Are
One
we
job.
now? Are we
Should we start getting players from overseas? Is that what it is? Get more
Who
overseas
knows?
players rather than Premier League ready ones. I hate to be a bit flippant. Actually, I don't hate, but I might. I think we should just get the best players for the jobs. Obviously, what does end up happening with the Premier League at the moment is we keep hoovering up all of the talent from around the world. So chances are the player you thought, I might want, a year goes by and they're probably playing in the Premier League anyway. There's not many players, I would say, out and about that you'll go, they're an unknown quantity. If, say, we're going for a player who plays for top 4 side in the Liga, not for the top 2, but the other ones, chances are we might get even blown out of the water by, say, Aston Villa. because we'll want that player for a squad role, whereas they'll want him for first team. They'll pay him 200 grand a week, whereas we were offering 150 maybe. And he'll go, I actually prefer to do that because I'll get more money, a couple of years. I might then get the move to Arsenal. And I don't think we're really in the position to be sweeping up players and taking chances. There's plenty of clubs out there now. If we're quite happy to go to teams like Brighton, like Brentford as well, whose sole purpose is to take those risks for you and then pay them for taking those risks, I think that's certainly a way to go about it. And we've seen success through that model as well. Don't think we would have got Trossard straight out of, Ghent. Ben White, again, I had to wait for him to get a few minutes in there. I think we haven't got that lone army anymore, and I don't think we'll restore it with the new rules that are coming in of how many players you can actually have out on loan. But that might change once we finally clear out a lot of that dead wood that we've got still out on loan.
Have you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Nail on
Good,
head.
good answer. So there you go. That's the answer. I was just looking for a tweet. Someone I need to mention at the end of the show. One for you, Karl, from Jimmy again. What will come first? Eddie scoring a Premier League goal or Tottenham manager getting the sack?
Well, it would be fun either or. I think something we need to talk about, it was Eddie, but we'll probably talk about him on the next podcast. But I would love this Pestasoglu, however you pronounce it.
I think they call him Tezo Lozano. I think that's what he's called.
I've no idea what you're talking about, and I'm here.
It's Ted Lasso reference. It's
I
just
thought you were
Australian
about
Ted Lasso.
Toledo, the one who married Karen Brady.
No.
Paul Pesky.
It's going to be funny him coming in because the Scottish League is not. Scottish League is akin to League Two, or maybe. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Scottish League is an absolute. The Pirates could go to the Scottish League and get into Europe,
and they don't even exist anymore.
Exactly. So,
The easy way to look at that, Karl, is go and have a look at the number of players who leave Aberdeen and the teams like that, and they go and play in League Two. Most of them. Yeah. That's where they go. He may be a good manager, and but if people expecting the same success that he had in Scotland, he's going to realise he's got a rude awakening coming up because the Scottish League is absolute flipping pony, and the same shit that he done in the Scottish League he can't do down here, which is going to be fun to watch. Though I'll tell you that. And he's going
to did well in the Japanese league, though. Did well.
That doesn't mean anything. Just ask Wenger. And he's going to make. Who was that bloke? The one who was Wolves manager who went there.
Nuno is
he's going to make Nuno look like Nuno stuck around too long. Right. Question for Kris from Hantumi. What's your thoughts on Dango Ouattara, made up name? Come on. How was he like in France? Will he fit our system? Doesn't exist, but go with it.
Yeah. Lorient legend. That's the shirt up there. No, he's a very, very talented young player. He, I know a few Arsenal fans sort of chimed up about him when he signed for Bournemouth. I openly admit I was slightly wrong in that I didn't think he was Premier League ready. To be fair, he's still very raw. I mean, he's a little bit runs down a few blind alleys here and there, but he's very talented, very, very talented. He came into the Lorient system back end of last summer, had a really good season, then obviously went to Bournemouth. I think he probably will step up another level, probably the next season, but I don't think it will be like a top 4 or 5 club. I think he might end up at like trying to think of like a mid-table. Palace is a bit harsh. Everton, you always think they're better than they are. Like a Villa, somewhere like that. Say again.
Like a Villa.
Yeah, someone like a Villa, that kind of end. But to be honest, I think he's ideal at Bournemouth at the moment. He's still got a lot of work to do. He's still got to grow into his body, to use that old expression. But yeah, technically he's very, very good. He's very quick, dynamic. But but in terms of like, yeah, he was never like Arsenal levels for me. Like he's still a bit of a raw gem, but yeah, he's a very, very talented player, and Lorient do have a habit of producing young talented players, as we know. So Enzo Lefebvre is the next one to keep an eye on, because he's going to leave this summer, and it breaks my little Lorient heart. But he's going to do very good things. So they do produce some good players there.
No word of a lie. I honestly the other day looked up to see what Malcolm was up to. I did.
Oh, the Brazilian wonder
Still in
kid.
Russia.
Is he still in Russia?
Still a Zenit.
Yeah.
Question for Josh. I've already done that once. I've only got 2 more to go. Here we go. You'll get an hour out of this. From And Lots of Numbers. Serious question. How long should Arsenal give Edu Arteta to genuinely achieve a significant trophy at the club in the current climate? And I'd add to that, or will they be happy to do what Wenger did and keep Champions League forever?
How long should Arsenal give Edu Arteta? I guess the question is, where do you think the fault is if we don't achieve a significant trophy? And at the moment, we seem to be supplying Arteta with the players he wants. And if that supply chain continues working, then I think Arteta 3 seasons maybe. But also, what's a significant trophy? Carabao Cup might have to be down as a significant trophy if City keep hoovering everything up. But yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities in FA Cup. I think there's still an opportunity in the league, but it's just going to be a hell of a slog to achieve it. I think a lot of it is being prepared to the point of when Pep leaves City or the 115 charges come home to roost. It's one of the two.
Will they, though? Will that ever happen? That's the question.
I guess now that, I guess it might have to require a slight change of government and what their policy is with striking deals with Qataris or the Saudis, because we know they certainly have an influence, not only in the UK, but across on other sides of the other parts of Europe, that big state-funded clubs have managed to push away sports authorities from digging a little bit deeper by mentioning something about, we'll do X, Y, and Z for your country if you don't look too deep into us. I think I can say just about that without getting too liable. If we can't, Danny, how much have we got in the kitty?
Still about minus 800 quid, unfortunately.
Oh, cool. So they've got to pay us £800 and then we can give it back to them.
Our sugar daddy, him, did send us a tenner the other day. So thanks for that, Phil.
Phil, we're going to need a lot more. We're going to need a lot more. Or maybe I just have to make a public apology. Who knows? But anyway, yeah. I think it's the 3 seasons, generally. Unless we start seeing some dodgy recruitment going on, then Edu comes out a little bit earlier. But I don't see anything anything like scary, despite what Twitter says about the work that Edu is doing with the transfers.
Okay, this one is I'll give this one to Kris. So we need one more question after this for Karl, so someone come up with a good one. Kris from Jimmy, with the current contracts being renewed, the club spending money, what looks like for fun, has the club finally woken back up again and acting like a top European club after years of sleeping?
Yes, I guess you'd argue they have. But I also think that, and this word's got me in a lot of trouble recently, because apparently it's contradicting yourself if you say you can't compete, but then also want your club to compete on other levels. But anyway, whatever. If you are a Champions League club, you have to spend big money. I think, like we said earlier on about the valuation of Rice, if you want the players at the top level who are winning trophies, as West Ham have done, you have to pay the big price. But then you also have to counteract that by saying we also picked up Jorginho and Trossard for nominal fees. We also bought Saliba for, at the time, what would be a bargain compared to what he's worth now. We also brought through Saka, Smith Rowe, etc. Odegaard was like 10 quid in a packet of pork scratchings. I mean, it's all about spending the big bucks on the players that make a massive difference. But yeah, we are mixing it with the big boys now, and I think if we're gonna compete on whatever level, even if it's FA Cup, whatever, we have to keep spending the big bucks. And as Karl said, and as John said many times, it's not my money. It's not even Arsenal's money. It's the Kroenkes' money. So, if the people that criticise the Kroenkes, have a little look at what they have actually put up. Yeah, I'm not saying they're flawless. I'm sure they've got their faults, but they've backed this manager big time, and they backed Edu and they backed Mikel. So I think all we're doing now is just keeping up with our neighbours. Whereas even 3 years ago, we were just trying to compete with the mid-table. Now we're competing with the top four, which is what we need to be doing. So, yeah, times have changed.
Do you know we're the only one of Kroenke's franchises that haven't won their respective leagues in the last in the last 5 years? So they've done really.
They have. Is it the Nuggets they own that they've just won the NBA?
Yeah, they've done really. This franchise has been really well lately.
Can I come off mute and just mention the Colorado Rapids have got nowhere close to the MLS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But no one really cares about the Rapids.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I just wanted to be right,
The Rams as well. I mean, it's like, they're not stupid, are they? They're businessmen. I mean, they're not dumb. They're not Monopoly bowling.
I mean, they are a little bit stupid. That massive stadium they've built isn't the right capacity for the World Cup to be used for the World Cup.
They've got to make some improvements on it or something, yeah. But I mean, ultimately, compared to where we could have been, look what we could have been if we'd have gone to Usmanov. Look at the shit show at Everton now. Okay. I mean, do you know what I mean? So lesser of two evils. As I say, I'm not saying the owners are. It's not like they eat in the fish and chip shop in Islington and say good morning, governor, to all the cleaners every day. But they have backed the manager, and ultimately, without the funding of the players that we got, and indeed, let's not forget contracts cost money. So all the coaching staff they improve upon, and the sports therapists, and it all costs money. So we've got some of the best facilities around, some of the best players now. It all has to come from money. So, we're a long way from standing on top of the ticket office and lighting flares and shouting, "Get out of our club," which wasn't that long ago. Let's not forget. So,
what colour scarf would we go for? Because green and gold is what you do.
Green and gold's out,
when they turn to Norwich,
white and navy, just for banter.
I think our first ever kit was
white, wasn't it?
White with blue shorts, possibly.
Yeah.
Did you what number did you have on the back, Danny, when you got it?
Hey?
What number did you have on the back when you got it? 69, obviously. Dirty boy.
Stone.
Yeah.
They didn't have numbers back then, Karl.
No, we had Roman numerals like XXXXX.
That's just the size.
X. All the X's. Right. I said I want a decent question at the end for Karl. Phil Macker says, "Is Karl watching porn? He seems distracted." That's getting in the bin. That's offensive. I put, "Should we shoot more?" That's pointless. But then with Pat Brady, nice of him to put down his egg and join in the show. Says, "Are we winning the title or away at Tottering, away or to Man United, or at home to Everton on the final day of the next season?"
Tell you what, all of those would be absolutely brilliant. But
so I think
to win it at Tottenham, oh God, I would absolutely love it. In the words of Kevin Keegan, I would love it if we beat them. Love it. Like, I absolutely would, because there's nothing they could do to out-banter us. Like, imagine the first person to win a trophy in your ground is Arsenal. And then to top it off, Harry Kane walks away for free like a couple games later because he's not signing any contract, which is absolutely hilarious. So, yeah,
do you think at the end, when he does finally leave Tottenham, he'll give everybody a little trophy, like just to the England squad for him breaking? If anyone's seen that,
do you know what? I don't understand why. And I don't want to go on about this. I know. I just don't understand why they laud him so much. Like, the man, I don't get it. Like,
he's a lanky Alan Shearer. That's all he is.
But look at the people he scored against: San Marino, Liechtenstein. Like, what the like? Come on.
Aaron Ramsdale looked visibly confused when he was given a trophy for helping Harry Kane get a golden boot. It is beautiful. Kris, you'll have to see that picture because I'm sure you're not aware of it, of Harry Kane buying everybody who has played with him for the England team a broken golden record, which then says to X person that he's given it to, thank you so much for helping me get all my goals for England. It's been
and
really
then the list
great.
of
Thank you.
the goals, and you
And
see
then
San Marino, Liechtenstein,
and it's all the goals that you've been involved in. So
Absolutely
if you're
cringe.
and what makes it even better is there's players who have made their debut or not are making their debut there who just don't have one and are in the pictures going, all right, why?
What am I here for?
Jack Grealish has gone, I came off the sesh for this.
He's got that like meme of John Travolta in Pulp Fiction just walking around going,
yeah, exactly.
Dunno.
Everybody who's won a trophy is just looking at it going, what?
oh God. Oh God.
Look at Ramsdale's face, Danny, if you can zoom in on that.
He's looking at the
he's
floor.
blatantly thinking, what the fuck?
That's absolutely priceless.
They're all laughing.
Jack Grealish looks hungover to fuck.
Yeah.
Oh God, where's Saka? Oh, he's kind of still.
Saka's with
Saka
Phil
smiles
Foden.
regardless, doesn't he? Bless him.
Yeah.
Kieran Trippier in the front row, of course.
Everyone who's been given a proper trophy is like, I don't know what this
Harry
is.
Maguire's just delighted to be there.
And they've all got individual pictures of them and moments.
Oh
Yeah.
my God!
I'm-
is that not
Imagine,
the most
could you imagine like
cringe?
taking that back home and hanging it up?
It-
What the fuck is
it
this?
It would be
That-
attic fodder, wouldn't it? Like your grandkids
Yes.
would get out and go, "What's this, Dad?" I
It would be
don't know.
just like-
Just put it in the bin.
It'd be just like Craig Bellamy's League Cup winners medal he got with Celtic. Doesn't know where the fuck it is and doesn't care.
Gone.
Just go
Like-
to
it's like- Any medal Mourinho won
Yeah.
for second place in a final, just in the crowd, gone. Like, yeah.
come Remembrance Sunday, you'll see those go up for auction. Every single club will have a little one. You got anything for a fundraiser? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I got this.
It's just like, oh my God. You just wouldn't want anyone to see it, would you? It's just totally cringe. It's like when your mum buys you a present for Christmas that you just like, yeah, I'll wear that. And you only ever wear it once when you see her, and that's it. It's gone.
But who would put that up in their house and every day you walk past it think, oh yeah, like Harry Kane gave me that because he scored a goal against Liechtenstein. Like
It would go in the downstairs loo, wouldn't it?
Well, didn't
It'd be
Brendan
like-
Rodgers have a painting of himself on
Yeah.
the wall?
Yeah, in the Liverpool documentary. Yeah.
weird, very weird. Anyway, Kris, you said you didn't want 2 hours, and look where we
Look
are.
what's happened. Like I was ready to go at an hour and 30, and then
Blame Danny.
stuff
Sorry,
happened.
Chris. I did have to show you that picture of Harry.
No,
Kane,
that
though.
is.
I think
It was
your night.
worth it. It was worth it for that. Yeah. And speaking of Aaron Ramsdale, I did chuckle at his tweet when he took a picture of Declan Rice and went the lad's ear and put it on his Instagram. That did chuckle. Did make me chuckle. He knows what he's doing. Right. Yeah, we're out of here. So we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you to all the people that have tuned in live, and obviously any of you lot that are listening in delay. We appreciate you
before we go, Chris.
very much. Yes, Danny.
John Hollins passed away yesterday, and Gordon McQueen passed away today.
Oh, that's sad, yeah.
Sad. I mean, Gordon McQueen was 70. John Hollins was 76. Sad times. Yeah. Come to Arsenal when he was 33. Finished. He stayed there till he was 37. But yeah, sad day when someone who I remember playing passes away. Go on, carry on.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Well said. Well said indeed. And yes, like I say, we will be back over the summer. We will be doing these shows throughout the summer. There won't really be a schedule because we're on our summer vacays, as the kids say. I'll never say that again, I promise. But
Do
yeah,
they
we
say
are.
that, though?
Well, I'm trying to be relevant, Karl, but I failed. What can I say? But yeah, we'll be around throughout the summer. We will do quote unquote emergency pods, like I say, if a signing happens. We'll probably try and get a pod out that evening of the day that the signing happens, if it happens. So keep an eye out for those.
We're not signing anyone, so the first pod will
Nobody's
be
coming.
the first game of the season.
When Rob Holding signs the non-existent new contract, we'll do a pod for that. But yeah, you know where to find us on socials, so just keep an eye out. If we're going live, you'll see it. Karl does a fantastic job on the Twitter, so have a look at that.
Brilliant job.
we will be doing some bits and bobs, to say, specials throughout the summer as well, trying to get a few guests here and there lined up. So basically, there'll be no schedule. When we're live, we're live. When we're not, we're not. That's how it's going to be. And then looking ahead to next season, I sent this to Danny about 3 weeks ago, and he hasn't bothered to listen to it, which you'll hear later on. But the good news is ABW of old will probably be back next season.
Jace is coming back.
Not quite that, no. But I love you, Jace, but I don't think it'll work.
Jeff Arsenal is going to turn up next season.
That's definitely not happening. But we are going to revert, hopefully, back to Thursday pods. Do you remember those days? Because
Easy to remember.
We're no
Thursday,
longer in the
7:30.
Europa Vase Florists Cup, or whatever the fuck it's called. We're back in the big time, at least until we bounce out at the hands of Bayern Munich in January. So,
semi-finals, you've heard it here.
Of little faith.
We'll be going back to Thursday pods, hopefully, from here on in. So that's how it'll be. We'll still have the live shows and the bits and bobs that you won't have to listen to me in, because I don't do those anymore because I'm too lazy. But we will return to normal scheduling. Your normal programs will resume after the summer. So there we go. But yeah,
don't forget, next season we could possibly lose to Man City 8 times in one season.
Oh yes, we've got the charity shield as well, haven't we? As well, that'll be fun. So
that'll be we get a trophy for that made out of dog turds.
Or like if they win that, will they do another open top bus parade and Jack Grealish can get hammered again for the charity shield?
Yeah,
be lovely. Fucking fake club. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you are watching on the live stream, please feel free to give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video and subscribe, like, do all that thing, flick the bell end and all that stuff. It does help us, ratings, reviews, and all that as well. And if you have come across us for the first time tonight, I'm sorry. All right, I can't help what I've got to work with here. It is what it is. So apologies. But if you're looking for highbrow Arsenal content, this is probably not the place to come. But if you're looking for a natter with a bunch of old blokes, here we are. But Danny, thank you. You kind of sort of have to be here, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Josh, you definitely don't have to be here, but you can now go and fan yourself until your heart's content.
It's definitely not the fanning what I need right now. But let's go swiftly on.
Yeah, let's move quickly to Karl, very, very quickly. Karl, if you can get that image of what Josh was referring to out of your head, thank you for your time as well.
Josh, just make sure you've got the tissues and the hand cream.
Oh, my good Lord. I've got some baby wipes here if you need them. They're ready to go. There's no reason why they're next to the computer, by the way. Anyway, this has been the Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep it Arsenal, and we'll be back very soon. Good night.
Anyone know a decent Tyler?
Karl, say it.
Hashtag fuck Ellis. Where is he actually, the prick?
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I've just eaten a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at Ibs, so when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on one. Bosh, Bob's your uncle. Never in doubt.